This is the Risky Roads podcast, the one and only Nebraska ball podcast. Not only are we on iTunes and the Husker Hoops Central board, we are now on Spotify and YouTube. So if you don't have an Apple device, you can go check us out there. Last night was another solid win for the Huskers, so I'm going to be talking about that for just a short while because there's only a one-day break between these two games, and today Jake will not be on the podcast, but I just wanted to bring you guys a little bit on last night's game and some stuff on Texas Tech, who won last night over USC, who we will play tonight. Yesterday we got the win over the KenPom ranked 171st Missouri State Bears, something like that. We won 85-62, and it was kind of a rough game, especially at first. We didn't really pull away. It was 36-29 at halftime. Palmer had to sit a lot of the end of the first half, which he only had 2 fouls, and Miles shouldn't have been sitting him, like we talked about with Ropey last time. But that kind of allowed them to get on a run. We struggled from shooting from threes, and they made 5 in a row at one point after going 1 for 8 to start the game. So it was kind of a rough night, but obviously it's good to get a 23-point win. We were able to put the subs in eventually with 2-3 minutes left and close out the game. So I'm just going to go through a few stats for you guys, talk about some of the tweets I sent out just because they'll remind me of the game and some talking points for that. So Glenn, Isaac Copeland, Isaiah, and Thomas Allen all played around 30 minutes, while James Palmer had more like 23. James Palmer really struggled tonight. His true shooting percentage, which is basically the number of points you've scored during the night divided by 2 times the number of field goals you took, or field goal attempts you took, was only 36%, which is very low. Glenn Watson kind of led the night with a 73% field goal percentage. He 16 points. He was 4 for 8 on 3-pointers, and just a really solid night from him. No fouls, only 2 turnovers. The other guy who I guess actually probably played better was Isaac Copeland. It's great to see him have another strong game. He had a strong game last time. He was 2 for 3 from 3. He had 23 points, 4 assists. Glenn had 4 assists too. 7 rebounds, and really efficient, just 9 for 14 from the field. Roby finally had a stronger game, especially in the second half. He really struggled again in the first half, but he ended with 13 points, 3 fouls, 3 blocks, 4 assists, and 7 rebounds. 4 assists from him, Copeland, and Watson really probably kind of is the stat of the night. They were able to, I think they actually had the shot tracker say that when they had 6 passes or more, they were scoring like 83% of the time in the early part of the game. So that was the one good stat it gave us. James Palmer struggled a bit, 3 for 11. He was 2 for 9 on threes, which maybe Jake was right there, and he needs to stop being the focal point of the offense. They doubled him a lot. They didn't let him do what he did to Seton Hall, and probably scouted him, just took away the things that they needed to take away that he's really good at. Also, the refs were a breath of fresh air after the last game. Very few calls. I really liked it, actually. Very few calls going to the basket for the offense. Actually, a lot of charges, which is what Palmer got called on for his first 2 fouls of the game. But that was probably just not a great night for Palmer, but obviously it worked out well for Copeland, Glenn, and our defense, especially for Roby and Tanner, who got like 8 or 9 blocks that game. So good stuff from them. Obviously, the big bench player from last night was Nana Akinton, who had 11 points. I thought it was higher, but he was extremely efficient. He was 3 for 5 from 3 and 1 for 1 from 2. He played 18 minutes and really just contributed. He was a really solid player. Great to space the floor with him, and obviously when you're making 60% of your shots, it's going to help the team on offense. He seemed to play pretty good defense. I didn't see anything rough around the edges there. And yeah, he just had a pretty solid game. Tanner came in. He got a lot of blocks. Let's see, what was it? This only says he has 1 block. There's no way that's right. We definitely had more than 6 blocks in this game. But I know Brady got a block too. But Tanner had 3 points. Still seemed like a solid game from him. 5 rebounds. And the good thing was we didn't need him and Brady so much this game because Isaiah Roby was not in foul trouble and we could just play him, especially when Copeland was going really strong and getting 30 minutes. With Nana, too. He's shorter, not a big man, but he's probably taken some of those. They were probably some of James Palmer's minutes, but maybe filling in at the 4 for Copeland and stuff while Roby was in the game. So Roby didn't slide down to the 4. After that game, we are currently at 23rd in KenPom. The coaches poll came out. We moved up 1 spot over the week, and somehow we didn't get into the AP top 25, which is pretty crazy since we were at like 27th in receiving votes before that. But I'm sure we'll get there. Let's talk a little bit about Texas Tech. I guess it'll take beating them to get there next week, but that'll be a really solid win if we can pull that off. So they are currently 20th in KenPom, so a really solid team. Let's look at them by the numbers. They are averaging 77 points per game, which is middle of the pack in the NCAA, but they are allowing only 48 points per game, which is 5th in the NCAA. So this is going to be a defensive struggle here for your HHCC predictions. If you're making them, I would predict quite low. Both teams, I don't know what we're at after last night's game, but we were, I think, 2nd lowest in the nation at like 45 or something. So this game is going to be a big-time defensive struggle. I know Texas Tech, I know more about last year's team than this year because I watched some of their games to look at Zaire Smith. He was a freshman who wasn't even supposed to be that good. On nobody's radar. He got picked 16th by the Philadelphia 76ers. They also lost senior guard who was the primary focal point of their offense before especially Zaire got going. But they somehow are coming back strong and are led this year by Jarrett Culver, number 23. He's a sophomore guard who's 6'5", and he's averaging 16 points or 17 points and 5 rebounds per game. They have another guard who's averaging 13 points. He's another sophomore, 6'3", number 25, just 13 and 2 rebounds. Doesn't seem like they have many guys who get up only one guy passed 15 points a game. They kind of spread it out, having 5 guys over 7, and obviously they just don't score all that much. 77 isn't low, but it's not like in 85 or 90 like we're at right now. We inflated our numbers from playing some bad teams, but They obviously are going to get you with defense. It looks like they're not a super big team. Their top scorers are 6'5", 6'3", 6'3", 6'10", and 6'5", so not small, but they seem to not be huge. Their 6'10" guy's only 205 pounds. I think that's kind of like Brady size. Not totally sure about that, but not huge for that guy, but apparently he's decently skilled. It looks like they might struggle a little bit in the rebounding category, which is interesting, especially for a very good defensive team. You'd think they'd get a lot of defensive rebounds, but they are 215th in total rebounds, and nobody averages more than 5 except for one guy on the bench who has 7.5. So maybe we can attack the boards, get some offensive boards, and make it into points, or just keep them off. We'll see. They seem to shoot, so far, not too bad from 3. They shoot 37% from 3 on 28 of 75. So that's 19 attempts per game. So pretty high. That's not super high. That's actually really low. At 273rd in the nation out of like 350. So they shoot 67% from the line, and it looks to me like they run an 8 or 9 man rotation. So this is a team that probably isn't gonna kill you on offense, but like I said, their defense is locked down, and we're gonna just need to find a way to score. Obviously, this is our first big test away from home, and I'm not super optimistic about this game just because even yesterday with a 23-point lead, we seem to struggle a lot. Maybe we'll be able to come back and play well in this game, but Texas Tech looked pretty good against a very talented USC team yesterday. So I'm probably going to make my prediction, and I don't know, I might have to say that we're going to lose this one. It'll be a tough loss, but definitely not a must-win for this team by any means. We will be back at home versus Western Illinois this week on Saturday, and then we'll go from there. I can't remember. Maybe Clemson is after that. But I'll see. Maybe Jake will get on with me and record a real podcast after this game tonight. It starts at 8:35. And it's on ESPN2, I think. So look for that, another podcast in your feed, maybe Wednesday or something, probably not during Thanksgiving, I don't know, maybe. But so glad you guys are listening. Thanks for jumping on short notice here. Go Big Red. Go Big Red.